Can someone tell me when it'll be okay to beat the Marlins? I'm just curious. Happy birthday, William. A very happy birthday, my friend, and many more. It would have been nice to be able to give William a birthday present, a happy dance, and I was going to do the song, and I probably will do it anyway for William's birthday at the end of the broadcast. But it is a lousy. Now, we have some things to cover here. Soto hits a home run, and they go home. Manaea, hey, Dementia. Manaea, I have no complaints. All right, he's rediscovering himself. He doesn't throw 95 anymore. He hits 90, 91. Look, he was serviceable. He actually looked better than Peterson did yesterday. But, Benj, okay, 0 for 3. Bichette 0 for 4. Soto, again, 2 for 3. He's up over 300 again. Batting average, Vientos does nothing. Morabito, I'm starting to see why he's not in the starting lineup every day. Torrens is brutal. I'm sick of seeing Melendez. I'm just sick of seeing Melendez already. But look, Tobias Myers gives up a run. He hasn't been great. Myers started off amazing. He hasn't been great. But look, Sean Manaea is a hidden inning guy now. Okay, Sean Manaea in 180 innings is going to give up 180, 182 hits. He doesn't blow it by anymore. But he has great off-speed stuff still. Gives up an earned run, 3 strikeouts. And Tong, looked good. But, again, you made a guy with a 5 ERA look like Greg Maddux. I do get it. They can't beat the Marlins. They just can't beat the Marlins. The Marlins have been dancing on the Mets' literally grave after they beat them a couple of different times in the last 15 years, last game. But the Mets just, whatever it is, they can't beat the Marlins. Now I look at this and I say once again, like I always do, because I have to come in here with something that seems rational. If we win tomorrow, got to win Sunday, we win a series. So, look, to me, this is a bad loss because every time the Mets have a chance to open up the floodgates of success, they don't do it. And I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's just incredible. And I don't know what the answer is. The team doesn't have enough offense. They don't have enough offense. And Pete Fairbanks, who the Mets wanted, ends up, 9 ERA. Torrens shouldn't be starting every day. He's terrible. Hey, Daniel, how are you? Well, Bo Bichette hasn't been trashed the last 2 weeks, but, he hasn't been consistent. You're right, Gio. How are you, man? Yeah, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, then 3 steps back. I know, Daniel, and I have to tell you, this is something that is really concerning. This team just doesn't have enough offense. And again, if Soto doesn't connect in the first, they get shut out again. They get shut out through a pitcher that had over a 5 ERA, hasn't gotten anybody out this year. And they make these guys look like world beaters. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. You really didn't even have him on the ropes all game. He struck out 5. He looked good. He was in the strike zone. Usually he's a gas can. Usually he walks a lot of guys. But, of course, with the Mets, they're as patient as shit. So they're not going to walk. I know, Daniel. That is his MO. He has done that for years. He just can't do anything right. It seems that every time Mendoza has a shot to let you look and say, well, maybe he's not so bad. He's so bad. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is here. You know, Bichette had been hitting up until today. Soto hits a home run every game. You know what, Gio? I was thinking of that on the long trip back. I just had a 2-hour journey. And I will tell you this much. I think Stearns wants to mitigate the disaster of this year. And if fans get excited about the young players, they're not talking so much about him. I agree, Daniel. I agree. But I think Stearns has taken a lot of the onus off him by bringing up rookies, because who have we been talking about? All we did was talk about David Stearns until a week and a half ago. Now we're talking about, right, Ewing, who meshes with Benj, Morabito, who we haven't really spoken much about. And as soon as it starts eking out about Stearns again, you'll see Clifford. Stearns didn't wake up yesterday with a spoon up his ass. Okay, Stearns is a smart guy. Don't think for a second that a lot of this isn't calculated. Look, Jonah Tong, I have a feeling that David Stearns feels that Jonah Tong is bored in AAA. I think he feels that whatever Tong has to work on, he can work on here. He thinks that his two pitches, the changeup and the fastball, are good enough to get certain hitters out. His changeup works very well against lefties. I think if he was getting racked around by lefties, I think he wouldn't be here. But he can get lefties out. So his splits are okay. I also think that Stearns knows that there's probably going to be a stoppage. And I think that he wants to see what he has. I think he's told Cohen, look, we have to see what we have. This way we know what we have to go after. You have to remember, if Morabito can't hit, if Ewing's overmatched, and I want to know how Ewing has gotten caught like 3 times stealing already this year. This guy's supposed to be the fastest guy in the league. He gets caught every time he tries to steal a base. No, I agree, Daniel. And I think that he's a smart guy, but I think he's smart for running an organization. I don't think he is smart with placement. Yeah, that's exactly it, Gio. He does not want people talking about him. He wants you talking and getting excited. If you talk about Tong throwing 3 scoreless tonight or 2 scoreless, and you talk about Thornton giving up arguably one of the best left-hand hitters in the major leagues this year, Abrams, a 3-run homer, and other than that, he was okay. And if you talk about Ewing, blinding speed and great defense, and Benj, now he's sitting over 260, you're not talking about him as much. And I think he knows this. Well, the Met lineup, they're not put together very well. Now they're certainly not, because now you have no power in the outfield other than Soto. You have 2 guys that probably are 12 to, well, Benj is probably a 15 home run hitter in the major leagues right now, and Ewing's probably 9 or 10. So from those 2 spots this year, in a full season, you'd probably get 25 homers. And even if Soto hits you 40, that's 65. That's 20 per outfield position. William, I don't think Ewing is. I think Ewing has a great eye at the plate. And I think that covers a lot of warts because Ewing doesn't generally swing out of the zone. So this is a guy that will walk a fair amount of the time. You don't see him really chase. Benj has cut down on the chasing. Benj is still very susceptible to the curveball inside. But look, so is every left-hander. But, Benj has done a terrific job this year. Look, the guy's hitting 260. I didn't think we'd have 260 till August. He went on a real heater. And there's no reason to think Benj can't hit 280 this year. And if he hits 280 this year, it's going to be in your top two, a batting average probably. I think this is the year Soto hits 300. Yeah, Daniel, it is a clown show. It's a show that it gets old fast. It gets really sickening when you keep on losing to the Marlins because then you have to remember them dancing all over you last year, the year before. You just there has to be changes. The sweeping changes are not only the roster. I agree with you. I don't think that Mendoza Joe motivates anybody. No, I agree. The problem is, and I'm guilty of this too, as soon as you're done with Vientos, he goes 2 for 4 with a couple of 105-mile-an-hour off the bat doubles. I think they see the same thing we see. He hits the ball very hard when he does make contact. He's still hitting 230. He's not hitting 190. He's a hot streak away from hitting 250. And, and he's probably going to hit 20 homers and 75, 80 RBIs this year. Unfortunately, though, it's not going to be enough because he doesn't add anything defensively. He gives you nothing on the base paths. He's a terrible base runner. Yeah, I think Ewing is in between. I think he's not sure. I think Mendoza just has to say, unless I say no, you're on your own. See, that's generally what they do. You don't have to wait for me to give you this. You're always on your own unless I tell you not to. And I think Ewing's caught in between that. Because there's no reason with his speed that he should be getting caught. Okay, the 2 catchers that have caught him with 3 catches this year, they're not upper echelon throwers. But look, we lose today. We can't complain about the pitching. Really can't. Anything that we needed, we got tonight. So it's just a matter now of what we do tomorrow. Right? And tomorrow we have Freddie Peralta against Meyer. Meyer's been very good for the Marlins. And we know the story with Peralta. Probably for 4 innings, he'll be tremendous. 5 innings, he'll get out of a jam. And in the 6th inning, he'll dance around and give you a lot of horse shit. But again, if we win tomorrow, then we're talking about just win Sunday and we win another series against a team that always gives us trouble. But we need to remember that Torrens is good. He's not a good hitter, Torrens is a 210 hitter. You start to see him get exposed when he plays every day. Yeah, I don't like Mendoza. Listen, I'm sure Mendoza's a very nice guy. Don't get me wrong, but nice guys don't win the East or win you the wild card. And for some reason, I do believe with Bichette getting hot and all that, I do believe that if you brought another manager in here, it would give you that extra oomph. Not only the oomph of the young players, the Ewings, the Benjes who's playing great, but it would give you now a manager that comes in a little fiery, a different voice that guys have to impress or they're not going to play. You bring a new manager in here. Now, I don't know how much David Stearns calls shots. I have a feeling he calls a lot of them. But you bring a new manager in here, Vientos will be on the bench. And he won't be on the bench for 3 days and then hit. He'll be on the bench. You'll bring Clifford up, and you'll just you'll hope for the best. Look, no one thought Benj was ready really, other than Stearns, and Benj was ready. He happened to get off to a great spring training, gave him some confidence. No, he never is, Gio. He's too much of a player's manager. He's like Davey Johnson. Davey Johnson was a player's manager. But the Mets don't have Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry and Mitchell, and they don't have those players. Daniel, I think David Stearns, I think he's good in an organization, but not to put your team on the field. Not to field your team, I agree. They need a GM. He can handle all the business contracts he wants, but we need a GM. First of all, Stearns is wearing 2 hats. It's very hard to be a POBO, president of baseball operations, and a general manager. No, Torrens is not an everyday player. Yeah, he's got to play twice a week. And I'm tired of Alvarez already. Alvarez, I don't doubt he's going to be a decent hitter, but he's not going to be a good hitter with the Mets. Probably can, Daniel. I don't think. I just think that this team has too many flaws. Yeah, they have to, William. They have to go out and get a cat. Well, they're going to overpay for any catcher they try to get. Langoliers. They're going to ask for Jonathan for Langoliers. And who knows? Maybe Tong was brought up here to showcase. Think about it. We all thought that Tong was going to start Sunday. He has a much better chance of blowing up in a start than blowing up in a couple of innings against Miami. Hey, Bayonet. Tong might be might be showcasing. Look, the Mets know they need a catcher. David Stearns knows he needs a catcher. Problem is, every Major League Baseball club knows you need a catcher also. So the price just went up a lot because Alvarez is still probably 6 to 8 weeks away. That's, 40 games. But I think that, look, Langoliers would be great. But you're going to have to give up a Tong. He's 28 years of age. He's a big-time hitter. You're going to have to give up Jonathan. I don't even know if Jonathan's enough. It might not be enough. Oakland could come back to you, A's, whatever they call themselves, and say, look, he hasn't shown us enough. For all, he's so great. Why isn't he in your rotation? You think he's so great. Why isn't he starting for you? And that's why I think they had to bring Tong up and pray that he pitches well for a couple of weeks. Maybe the A's make him a closer. Who knows? I don't know if you could trade Alvarez on the IL. I think the A's would definitely be interested in Vientos. And Peterson, yeah. Because, like I said, you have a lot of pitching coaches that probably say a 30-year-old lefty who has had success like Peterson, let me get my hands on him. A lot of people, I guarantee you, still like Peterson in other organizations. Now, I'm not going to give up their number one prospect for him, but there are a lot of teams. Lefties sometimes find it a little older. He's 30. He's still throwing 93, 94. And, a lot of Houston has a great lab. San Francisco has a great lab. There's no doubt in my mind if he went to the Giants, they'd straighten him out a bit. Houston might straighten him out a bit. Houston needs pitching. I just don't know who you could ask for from them. But the Mets just have to really figure it out. Because as every day passes, it's another day off the calendar. And every time it looks like we're going to run 8 out of 10, we don't. Maybe we're really just not that good. There's a very good chance that we're just not that good. I've resigned myself to it. I have. It's hard, especially a couple of games away from a third of the season. But maybe we're just not that good. I think Holmes is a big hit for us. I think we've gotten much more out of Benj than I think we thought we'd get. Got about what we thought we'd get out of Ewing. Um, Thornton, look, one bad pitch to an all-star. And that's how you rock. And that's how you have to look at it. I had under in that game. I banged out the under. The under went from 7 under 25 to 6.5 over 20. That was a lock, that under. The wind was blowing in. If the wind's not blowing out, Philly doesn't score in that stadium. But and that pitch is a good pitcher for Cleveland. But yeah, well, Marcus Simeon's done. I told everyone in the beginning, if you go back, Simeon has slider bat speed now. What Simeon was good at was pulling the ball. When he pulled the ball, he hit home runs. When he was able to get air under the ball. Now that he has slider bat speed and can't catch up to a good fastball anymore, that's why he's striking out a lot, because he's guessing slider. Because that's the only ball he can jack for the most part. He'll run into a home run with a fastball, but it generally won't be a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He's not catching up to any big-time fastballs anymore. But if you make a mistake, he's a veteran. And if you make a mistake, he still can hit. He's still a positive fielder. He's not as good as he was. He has taken a step back even from last year defensively. He'll get to a lot of balls now, but he won't complete the play. If you notice, he'll dive, come up with the ball, but he just can't get it cleanly in the glove. He's made 3 or 4 plays this year that he would have had 2 years ago. That happens when you're 34, 35, 36. Every year is like 2 or 3 years. When you're 35, you become 38 in that 6-month off season. That happens. That doesn't happen when you're 23, 24. You age quite a bit. A baseball player over 34, 35, it's like when you're 75 years of age. Every year, you feel like you aged 3 years. It's the same thing, especially with an infielder. You put a lot of miles on your legs. He always dealt with his legs, Simeon. So, look, he's not going to hurt you. He's still better defensively at second than O'Neill is, Jeff McNeil. But I think you were better off with McNeil's bat in the lineup. Yeah, I'm tired of it too, Dan. It's just the same crap over and over and over again. And, it's like, when is it going to stop? It's going to stop when we change the manager, where you have a different voice. And I think that's the key. I think you have to have a different voice in there. And, the voice is old. No one cares anymore. They don't listen to him. He doesn't have any urgency. He doesn't throw his players under the bus. And I'm not saying you should throw your players under the bus, but there has to be some accountability. Accountability is sitting a guy. So I don't know what the deal is. They're certainly not going to replace him. They're not going to replace him. I mean, we're stuck with Mendoza at least for the year. But it's yeah, I know, Daniel. It's very, very, very depressing, especially with a $370 million payroll. It's very depressing. But it's a thing now where it's just getting ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So, because it's William's birthday, happy birthday, William. A very happy birthday to you. Langa, yeah, but you're going to have to give up Tong for him. You're very welcome, William. You're going to have to give up Tong for him. It's terrible. It's terrible. But once again, I would, yeah, well, you know what? You're not going to sell that low on him either because, they'll try to push. Look, he's hit 235. He's shown a home run bat. He's still hitting the ball hard. And he's also shown that he could play a little first base, Daniel. He's not been great, but he can play it. And he can play third. Not good, but he can play it. And you could sell that to a young team. You could sell that. I think a team like the A's, a team like the Reds have no offense at all. A team like that, for whatever reason, I don't think the Mets are ready to give up on Vientos. For whatever reason, the Mets are convinced that Vientos is going to go be a star somewhere. And look, that may very well happen. But if it's not going to happen for you, you have to kind of look at it and say, you know what? We want to win. You know what, though, Daniel? If Bichette doesn't get traded, I guarantee you Bichette hits 20 homers, minimum 90 RBIs, and hits minimum 260 with 30-plus doubles. Other than Soto, Bichette's your best hitter in that lineup. I know he hasn't looked like it. He's a lifetime – he won the batting title last year, Daniel. He's not going to hit 230. Take my word for it. He's going to go on a heater like Benj did. He's going to play for a month and hit 370 and get up to 275, 280. If he goes on a heater like Benj, he'll be hitting 290. Yeah, the potential's not working out because we're a gang of hired guns. They never played together, most of these players. The guys that have more time playing together are the guys called up from the minors. And that's why I think it almost works. Because you have guys that have been teammates for a few years in the minor leagues. But look, again, if we win tomorrow, this is a game where if I would have told you we had an opener in Minaya, you would have said we probably lost that game. Can't blame Minaya now. Blame the offense who did nothing against the pitcher who was giving up over 5 runs a game and walked the ballpark. Daniel, it's hard to play. I guess it's hard to play in New York. There has to be something to that. Ed Whitson went on and had a great career in San Diego. Or wherever he went. It's probably hard. I'll tell you someone who pitched well, and we never talk about him. He blew it up in the last game of the year. He looked like he had no interest. Bassett. Bassett had a great year for the Mets. Chris Bassett, the Mets were considering signing him again. But he left a sour taste in his mouth. He looked very disinterested that year that the Mets didn't win it. But, you'd be surprised if I told you his year with the Mets, Mets trade day, I know. With the Mets, Bassett went 15-9, a 3.42 ERA, through 181 innings, and a terrific year, a 1.14 whip. Bassett was terrific that year for the Mets. Took the ball every 5 days. He hasn't been very good with Baltimore. But you know what? Nolan McLean has disappointed me a great deal, Daniel. The worst, you know what the worst name for Nolan McLean is? Cam Schlittler. Because that kid gives up a run every 5 games, and Nolan McLean, who started off lights out in his career last year, has been getting pounded. And he seems to have no clue. Now, he was getting pounded in the 5th and 6th inning. Now it looks like he doesn't have any clue in the 2nd, 3rd inning. Is it catching? I don't know. But you know what? I'm going to make a brave statement here. I think for whatever reason, I get the feeling that Jonah Tong has figured it out. I know it's a ridiculous statement, and it might come back to bite me, just like me screaming, I don't want to see Taylor anymore, home run! But I have a feeling Tong might have figured it out. Tong reminds me of Senga, that he gets very rattled. When things are going good for Tong, he's great. I think Tong gives up a hit. He gets frustrated. He's a kid. He has to grow up mentally. Senga, that's just Japanese players are very, very, very controlled. They eat at the same exact time every day, and you have to embrace it. I think the youth movement is why Stearns is going to keep his job, because I think he drafted Benj, and Cohen looks at Benj and says, "Oh, you're right, he's great," and then Ewing will come up and steal a bunch of bases, even though he hasn't, and they'll bring Lambert up. He'll be throwing 99, and Tong will figure it out a little. Stearns is well known also. The top three pitchers in the Milwaukee organization, Freddie Peralta, Corbin Burns, and Brandon Woodruff, all started in the bullpen when they were first called up. Tong had to start last year. They had no pitching. They just had to rush him. He wasn't ready. If it was any other year, if Singer doesn't get hurt last year and Minaya is anything, Tong's not up. I agree with you. And the guy, well, Soto doesn't, and the young guys. Now, I can understand a rookie having a hard time with a fastball. They have to learn to break and everything. Benj seems to be okay with fastballs. Ewing, not enough of a sample size. Alvarez has a quick bat. Alvarez, the bat speed on Alvarez is one of the quickest in the league. He just doesn't hit the ball, but his bat speed's terrific. You like the word clown, don't you, Daniel? So, look, if we win tomorrow, no harm, no foul. We win Sunday and win the series again. Because you don't expect to come in and especially sweep the Marlins. The thing is, you can't get swept here. That's the key. And I hate losing the first game, because the first game turns into the second game, and then you're tight on Sunday, and they're dancing all over the field like they won the fucking World Series, the Marlins. So it's a tough loss tonight, especially when we get great pitching. Look, Tong came in and was great. Minaya pitched his best ball since the first week of the season. Soto hit a home run. And they never hit the ball again. But that doesn't mean we can't win tomorrow. So, happy birthday, William. A very happy birthday. I will be on tomorrow with the post game. I hope you join me. And let's go Mets. Be safe and be well, everybody.